Good afternoon. I'm very sorry to be late with the first presentation, but we had some technical problems. So it's my great pleasure to introduce you Mr. Ed Halla. He's now in Portland in USA, and he's a graduate from our faculty, from Faculty of Economics. He's graduated 20 years ago, but now he's very successful in business in America, and so he will hold some lecture about his experiences, especially in these COVID times. So now I just let the speech to my colleague from USA.
Startup in COVID. So today I will talk a little bit about myself. I will tell you about my career. I will tell you about what a startup is. I will talk about what startup is in global pandemic. We'll talk about threats versus opportunities. Then we will wrap it up and we will have some questions and answers. Introduction. So I was born in Czechoslovakia. I've been living in the United States since 2001, and this is my family, and this is, just a few photos from who I am. Here's about my education. So I have graduated from YAMU in Brno in 1996 with Bachelor of Dramatic Arts. And then I went to VŠB, where I have actually title of Engineer of Economics or Master of Economics with focus in finance. Here's a little bit quickly about my journey to United States. So after I graduated, actually I graduated on June 10th, next morning I packed and I left for US for a couple of months. I was traveling as a work and travel on J1 visa. You guys might know that. Let's move on. Sorry about that. I went to the United States. I had a backpack. I had a return ticket for 12 months. And I had a few $100s. And it has been 19 years since I've been living here, and I live in all these cities and places in the United States. And as you can see, I'm right now in Oregon, in Portland. So I'm on the West Coast. These three states are West Coast of the United States. And I've been here since 2007. And it is my home now. This is Portland. And this is me on social media. So I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm on TikTok. Having fun on TikTok. So I'm doing silly dances. No, I'm just kidding. But you can see that in Portland, we have a Czech street cards, tramvajky, Škoda. And this is our volcano, one of them. Behind the city. This is a Mount Hood. We have a couple of volcanoes. Some of them are active, some of them are not. And that's our town. It's our city. It's famous for many things. One of them is Nike. Nike is from here, and other brands, very famous. But the reality is that Portland is also leading the social unrest that is happening in the United States now I left in 2018. We successfully sold the company in 2013 to a corporation, publicly traded company in Chicago. And, we did pretty well. I think the company has a hard time like everybody else because they were really focused on brick and mortar, real retail. And now, as you can imagine, it's all changing. Here are some of our brands and successes that we've done. So we work for Starbucks, we work for Apple, Google, Adidas, Nike, North Face, Columbia Sportswear, lots of fashion brands, top 5 fashion brands, top 3, 4 outdoor brands, Patagonia, North Face, Columbia, sports brands, Nike, Adidas, Puma, and others. So that was a huge success. Then once I left, is there one more slide? Picture missing. Yeah. Once I left iLevel, I jumped into a project called One App. It is a website to find apartments for rent in United States. I was an investor in the company and I was on a board, and because I had a non-compete and I couldn't do much really, I helped them as a CEO. I gave them focus. We created this first product that was generating revenue called One App Guarantee, and I did it for a year. There was a really unpaid position of CEO. I got equity and I pushed hard and make that company to focus. They're doing okay. They are about $1 million annual sales now from zero. And I stay on board, but it was not something that I want to pursue long term. And then I came up with this idea from my travels for a beverage company. So this is my new project. This is my new startup that I started in January 2020, and it's called MÁTE Time. I drink lots of yerba mate. I don't know if you know it, and I drink lots of teas. And when I was traveling with iLevel, and I can show you, these are all the offices that we had. And because I was my global managing director, then I had to take care of all these offices. And I realized while I was traveling that everywhere I went, they offered me different beverage. In Asia, they gave me lots of green tea, and I become a big fan of oolong tea. In Latin America and South America, I started drinking yerba mate, and it was great. I'm drinking it right now, and I love yerba mate. I was never, big drinker of coffee because it upsets my stomach. And then, I like chai tea, and I like different types of teas, green teas. So I came up with this idea of a beverage that based on the time of the day, there will be different beverage. And I'll tell you about it a little bit later. I have a whole presentation about it. So this is also what I do. And, there's always job, and then there's some time you become involved in your hobbies and in lots of nonprofits and boards. So I'm on a board of directors of PETE, which is a Portland Experimental Theater Ensemble. I've been volunteering with nonprofit Africa New Life, which is an organization involved in Rwanda. I don't know if you know much about Rwanda. It's in East Africa next to Kenya, and it's famous for the genocide in last century. It is a very interesting country. It's a country that is run by women. It has the most women in the parliament out of any country in the world. It's about 64%. It's also one of the poorest countries that I ever visited in my life, and I really went, in many places. But with the little that they have, the public policy and the way how the country is run is really to be admired. It's just a very fascinating place. And I've been and I traveled there, and I work with the organization. We help to build a hospital there. We have, with my wife, about 6 children that we sponsor for 10 years. Now they go into college, and I've done lots of their city team. Is a homeless shelter in Portland that I help them out sometimes with their people that are getting off the drug addiction and they need help with their resume writing. So I'm just having some time spending there on actually with people that are getting off the street and want to get their job. So I'm helping them write the resumes. And I'm also involved in my church here in Portland. All right, let's talk about startup. I hope you guys are still there. So, what is entrepreneur? It's a person that will, be the one that starts a company. It is defined as a term as a person who pays a price for a product and we sell it at an uncertain price, making decision about obtaining and using the resources while consequently admitting the risk of the enterprise. That is a definition from 17th century. So 400 years, 330 years later, it's still valid, right? If I want to do beverage company, I'll buy these teas, I'll steep them in the water, put them in a can, and I try to sell it, right? So I'll buy product, I maybe tweak it, added value to it, and then I will try to resell it. And the difference between buying and selling or whatever you decide is actually quite risky, and it's rewarded by the profit. So that's a definition that I found, and I think it's still valid, even though it's from French, 17th century. Entrepreneurship is the process of designing, launching, and running a new business. And as I said, it is a person that will recognize that there is a need and potential of an invention that you can bring to the market and make it commercially viable innovation. The commercially viable is quite important. And in my experience, that one app in that website that offers apartments for rent in the United States, we really struggle that we couldn't monetize the product, right? We offer this added value to people to apply on our website, and then they saw all the apartments, because in the United States, you have a criteria how to get into apartments, your history, it's your credit, so you have to build your credit card, it's your criminal record and all that, and in every apartment you have to apply again and again. So we aggregate that, but as soon as we put a gate with a price, right, pay us $2, $20, then we didn't get the users. So we couldn't find commercially viable way to monetize this idea. And we struggle with that. That's why we created another product, the guarantee, which is like an insurance, and we start making some revenue. But many times, especially with tech, you expecting everything for free. I'm using Skype for free right now. I bet Microsoft Teams are for free. All these things we are used to is, as soon as it's on the internet, we are expecting it to be for free. So the commercially viable innovation is a critical part of the success. Startup starts with idea. As an investor, I invested in multiple startups, and I invested in venture funds, venture capital funds. Ideas are everywhere. I actually found out that I get approached, or I find some ideas almost every other week. In COVID it's different, but pre-COVID it was very common. There are lots of ideas, but it's, I hear lots of people, I have an idea, what do you think? So I think ideas are everywhere. It's really about the execution. And then the execution comes with a business plan, human resources, financial material resources. And if you want to be, good entrepreneur, you have to show some leadership skills. So I think these are the core aspects of, starting a business. You start with the idea, then you start making the idea into something like a plan. It doesn't have to be well defined, but it needs to have some kind of structure. And it depends. You can, make it with post-it stickers or map it, or you can make an Excel spreadsheet. Then you will have to realize that you will need team, talent. So if you have an idea, then to make it happen, you will need a guy who can, make beverages, and then you will need somebody who makes aluminum cans. Then you will have to calculate how much it will cost to get it to the market, because you will need some money to get it off the ground. And then you will have to be risk averse and take responsibility. So hopefully that's clear. Here is something that I call entrepreneurship 6 C's. based on this podcast that I heard from a guy from Harvard, and I add to it and change it. So it's not necessarily my original idea. I just want to be very clear. But when I think about entrepreneurship, so for the sake of clarity, I create this 6C, and I think it requires courage. That's the aversion to risk. You know, you can have a job in a bank. That was part of my career plan, right? I graduate my second university in Ostrava. I will go to work in a bank in Prague, or now maybe in Brno and Ostrava. And 10, 15 years later, I will have a really nice position in a central bank in Prague. Or I will drop everything, move to Portland, and start a business, you know, in my living room. So the courage is really important. I think another part is clarity. Because of the ideas and all the things that are going around, you need to have a certain skill to aggregate the information and make it clear for everyone, right? Or you will just make it messy. Imagine you are a computer engineer or you're really into finance. If you cannot clearly explain what you're trying to achieve to your team or your customers, you will not succeed. I always found that, you know, part of the entrepreneur is this natural curiosity about the world around ourselves, right? So I see this computer, and you can see how we are trying to figure out how to log in, and we tried Microsoft Teams, then we tried Skype, and we have this, you know, curiosity to try new software and to get it done. Conviction is then really, you will face lots of obstacles as an entrepreneur. If you want to start your business, one of the obstacles is a global pandemic. But if you want to really start business, you need to be convinced that you will succeed. You know, it is coming. If you coming to the table and say, I might start a business, but I will not succeed, you know, nobody will buy the drink. You will have doubts, but you need to have enough conviction to get you through the doubts. And then you need a customer. There is a lots of ideas and brands that don't consider customer. They think it's a brilliant idea, but then they don't test it right, and they don't focus. Do really customers need this, or it's just something that I think they will need? And then last part, I call it culture, and it's almost like the cake at the end. It's like the cake, which is C as well at the end. It's once you make your business, you can actually, it comes with the freedom that you can create a working environment that you will enjoy. You don't have to submit to the corporation that you are getting your job in. And I like that about startup. I don't have resume. I don't have boss, and I do things in a way that attracts people that are same-minded as I am. So now I have, you know, a business partner. I have a team of people that are working, and we all enjoy what we do, and we are good in it. And it's this nice working environment. I'm not saying that big corporations don't have that. They do. But I'm saying as an entrepreneur, you should think about how your company should be like. Is it welcoming? Is it diverse? Are you guys, you know, addressing the social issues? Do you have values that you recycle, and all these things that you can decide? And that comes with being an entrepreneur. So I enjoy that. I don't see any questions, so let's go. We have maybe 30 minutes left. So, startup in global pandemic. There is a big difference than startup. Originally, I want to ask you, the audience, what do you think are the global trends, right? What are the trends? Unfortunately, we cannot talk, and I cannot see your faces and chat, so I'll just go through what I think are the 3 trends that I found in COVID. And I actually think there's maybe 15 or 27. I just took these 3 and focus on business, right? So first one is the technology invasion and disruption in working practices and behaviors. And that was asked, that is exactly what's going on right now. It's the first time I'm doing International Week, and I've been there for a couple of times. Always love the students, always like the faces, the energy of young people. And now I'm sitting in Portland in the morning on Monday talking to my own screen, and I don't see anything. So that invasion and the disruption of how do we work is everywhere. It's education, it's school, it's meetings, it's just happening, and we cannot take it positively, right? I don't mind that I'm speaking to the computer screen and I don't know your reaction, but it's definitely something that we have to get adjusted to. Second trend that I see in business is DTC. Remember that, you might know it. I don't know if Docent Spatial is teaching that in marketing, but I bet it is. And DTC is not going anywhere. DTC is now, if you have any brand that has a consumer product, DTC is the hero. iLevel, the big company that I helped to build and eventually sold, was retail. There was a little bit of DTC, but we did wholesale, we did retail, and we did campaigns, and then we did, pop-ups. But direct to consumer, the way how brands don't, sell through wholesale is changing. So it's all e-commerce now. It's really social media, and it's very important for everybody to focus on DTC. And brands that were on DTC are doing well. Nike Nike, you say in Europe Nike, by the way, it's incorrect. It's actually Nike in US and in Portland where Nike is. Had a great quarterly results. They grew, they had a plan for their online business. And the numbers that they achieved this quarter were numbers they were supposed to achieve in 3 years, next 3 years in 2023. And they are already there because, they focus so much on their app, on their e-commerce, on the photos, or how they present the product, how they launch it. It's all focused on DTC. And then third one is a consolidation. And that's something, I don't know yet if it's true. And I also is the one that I don't like. Right? The first two, I'm fine with it. I think it's just accelerating the trends and even the technology invasion. I think about, I was on a plane every other week. I was on an airplane. I had 1,000,000 miles. I was flying everywhere. It's not that glamorous. And now I just do Zoom chat or Microsoft Teams or Skypes. But the third one is a consolidation. There's a huge consolidation, and I see it in a city like Portland, that small businesses don't survive, while the big businesses can, cut their costs, trim the staff, and they will survive. And once this is over, their market share will be even bigger than it's now. So there is a big, I would say, even threat of the consolidation. I would love to hear what you guys think about these trends, and maybe there's more that you see, especially in Czech Republic, because I'm disconnected, or the countries that you guys are from. But let's go through the rest. Here we go. My startup, beverage company. So for each time of the day, there will be a drink based on teas and drinks from around the world. So 6:21 a.m., I went for a quick run today morning before I talked to you. So I would drink my drink 6:21 a.m. Then I have a 9 a.m., which is a yerba mate, which helps really with mental clarity. I don't know if you guys know. I think they sell like Club Mate in Czech Republic and some other drinks. 2:15 is my green tea, oolong tea. After lunch, when you eat your heavy lunch and you have this like tiredness, we call it food coma, right? You want to sleep because you have knedlíky and vepřové zerin or whatever it is. Then you would drink this green tea in a can and then 4:20 p.m. is a CBD drink, and then 8:30 p.m. is a chamomile chai. So all these drinks are nitro infused, which is similar to Guinness beer. It's these fine bubbles with this gas called nitro instead of CO2. It's N2. So we connected the global beverage cultures. We added the narrative of time, right? Time of the day, you have different drink. Because now, if you think about it, I used to get up and first thing is coffee, right? And then you drink whatever, water, and then in the afternoon you want to have another coffee, but you won't sleep well. So the time as a mindset is important. And then I spent 9 months crafting these drinks. We have very interesting flavors. The 9 a.m. that's a rosemary orange. The 420 is a saffron mint, and the same way what happens to fine dining or ice creams, we want to bring it to beverages, non-alcoholic beverages, right? Because they're kind of boring, and we don't want to do another Coca-Cola or lots of sugar, 40 grams of sugar in a can. We want to do healthy beverage inspired by all the drinks around the world. And anywhere I go around the world, the first thing that they really offer you is a beverage, right? I come to Czech Republic and everybody offers you beverage, not necessarily non-alcoholic. In Czech Republic, people like beer, and everybody has a little alcohol in Morava that they offer you. But everywhere you go, they really offer you beverage, and that's our startup. More to come on that. Again, part of how you build your business, and when I said the culture, is that you set up the values in your business. And the values are important, especially when something doesn't go well. When everything goes well, you don't think about these too much. But when you have an issue with quality or something, you lean on your values, and it's good to define them. So here's the values of MÁTE time. And then you make your business plan. And here's a business plan that looks great on Gantt charts. We actually are okay. This column is October. This is a product development. This is I would have to check. So product development. This is a brand development. This is production. We are really late on that, but we have a good on testing. We have a marketing. And then we have a finance plan, right? So it's very simple. You put it, you try to keep it on time. But the reality of business plan is this. It's never like it's in your Gantt chart. Don't tell anybody at school. Don't tell docent Spáčil. Don't tell anybody. But as soon as you learn something as a business plan or planning or charts, Tuesday comes and it's a mess, and it's always different. And that's the reality of business plan. So I just want to make sure we understand that and I will talk about that with our threats and opportunities for the COVID. But we started in January with a plan that we will launch our startup in June for summer. We're like, hey, summer, let's launch these refreshing, iced teas, beverages. And then in February, COVID came, and everything is very different. But I can, most of these photos are my kitchen, in my house, my office, my plants, and then, partner that we work with on making this formulation well. So that's the reality. And now, finance. So I talk a little bit about the values, about our brand core, about business plan, and now the finance. For startup, you can sell finances, and that's what happens to us right now. It's self-financed, so we take, my own resources, put it in a business, and keep track of it till we can start it. But then once we hit the production size and the cycle, we will be facing the cash problems. And that was part of the consolidation, which is one of the trends in COVID, is that the businesses don't have the cash because the sales of the product stopped for months, and only the big companies can afford to not sell anything for months because they are so big that they have financial backing of the banks or they have a cash, while small, restaurants or small startups don't have the cash on the side and they struggle. So for that, if you have a startup now, you have to raise money. So this is a slide that shows you how startups should organize their pitch, their presentation to raise capital. And I think it's important for students or anybody who is interested into starting business and thinking about how do I get the money? I have a great idea and I think I have a good plan to get this idea to market, but I don't have the money. I'm a student, right? Maybe some of you are rich, maybe some of you are not. But if you want to raise money, this is how. You make a four topics in your pitch, and that's a topic. You describe the problem. There's not, for my drinks, there's not really any drinks that will be addressing the time need during your day. There are lots of energy drinks, Red Bull, right? You want to have energy, then you drink it, your heartbeat goes up. But it doesn't help with your digestion after lunch. You just get a heartbeat, but your belly is still full and you really are struggling with mental clarity. So that's the problem. There's not really good drinks like that on the market. They're all sugary and whatever. Here is our solution. We have the best quality drinks and ingredients for this need on the market. And then third category is, this is how we will get it to market. We will build e-commerce website. We will build Amazon. We had a plan of going to retail, right, to stores. That changed. And then here's the team, the people that will run it. And that's really important. Don't forget that team. Even if it's just you need to show that you have advisors. You will say, Docent Spacil is advising me and he has these credentials, or I have this person as an advisor in chemical industry and whatever, beverage industry, and it will show the investor that there are smart people that achieve something, and it gives you credential. As an investor, I invested in many startups, and actually in half of them, it didn't succeed, and I lost the money. Imagine somebody comes to you and say, I have an idea about chemical or computer. I have an idea for this chip. I don't know anything about chip. I would like to invest into chip technology, but I don't know anything. So even if that person describes me the problem and the solution and the go-to-market strategy, I still will not understand it, but I have the money to invest. So really the main decision point for people that want to invest is that they will look at your team, because they will be like, oh, I don't know anything about chemicals. I don't know anything about how microchips are built, but they have this guy who started Intel, right? Or he was the product development director in Intel in, Czech Republic or US or Germany. Now I know that they have a smart person that done it. I can invest, and that's how they invest. So these are the four, when you start approaching people about finance, have that in mind, that this is the way to do it. It might change. It doesn't have to be that rigid, but you really describe the problem well. It's like, oh yeah, there is a big problem. I didn't realize that. Here's a solution. Oh, okay, that's cool. There's a strategy how to get it to market, and these are the smart people around. Okay. All right, let's go through this real quick. Threats versus opportunities. So what are the threats? I want to ask you, but I can't, so I'll tell you. Supply chain disruption. That is one of the biggest threats, and it actually happens to me as well. Again, I'm not pretending I know everything. I can tell you what I know about my startup, which is a beverage. I ordered this high-end quality oolong tea, which is a green tea from Jinan province, USDA organic certified tea, through Alibaba. And I don't know if you guys, I've done business in China, so I ordered this tea that I want to use, and it sit on an airport tarmac in China for 2 weeks, and then in LA in quarantine for 2 weeks. and there was no airplanes flying. Most of the global supply chain, if you air freight something, is done through passenger airplanes, and on the bottom is your luggage, and next to it is a big, pallets of goods that are shipped every time when passenger plane is flying. Well, there were no passenger planes. That was happening in May and June, so I couldn't get my tea. What happens now, everything that I've worked for 9 months is on hold because there's no aluminum cans. All the beverages, beer, Coca-Cola in the pouches in these machines, every beverage company that's sold to restaurants, that's sold to hotels, that's sold to airports, was in a big kegs, right? The big, kegs or these plastic pouches that you put in these machines. That all is gone, and everybody, Budweiser, Pilsner, Český Budvar, everybody stopped producing in a kegs, in a big, jugs, and went into cans, aluminum cans. So there's a huge demand for aluminum cans, and you cannot get cans for 6 months. So now I have a product. We have a first consumer testing on this Saturday, October 10th. But I cannot pack it into cans because I have to wait 6 months. And because I'm a small startup, nobody wants to sell me cans. They want to sell me truckloads. So in order to buy cans for these 5 drinks, I have to buy 1 million cans. And I don't want to buy 1 million cans. Imagine nobody wants these drinks, right? In a business, I have to test it and then, validate it first, and then I'll tweak the formulation, and then I can buy 1 million cans. So I need 4 pallets of cans. Nobody will say. So that's just 2 examples from a small, tiny startup somewhere, on the West Coast. And I can imagine big companies and, Budweiser and Coca-Cola, they're all facing the same in a big proportions. Second threat that I see is a cash management. And I explained that it is really the biggest will survive, the strongest will survive, and the small without cash will not. If you're watching a stock market and publicly traded companies, you see that they report EBITDA. All the finance students know earnings before interest, taxation, depreciation, and amortization. And that's all changing. Now the big companies publicly traded, they start reporting cash position, cash situation. We have enough cash to survive 6 months. Nobody asked them, did you make gross margin or did you make this much profit? Everybody is interested in how much cash do you have to survive, right? So that's a huge threat. And then consumer behavior changed. I don't know what you guys are wearing, but nobody's buying business suits anymore. Nobody's buying ties. Nobody's buying button-down shirts. We all sit in the sweatpants and Nike sneakers in our homes, right? That's one of the examples. But nobody's traveling, very little people, right? Nobody's going to restaurants like they used to. It always changing. So there's a huge shift in a pandemic with consumer behavior. Every threat is an opportunity in disguise. So when supply chain is disrupted, that really push businesses into innovation. Our cans, the drinks that we have, and maybe I cannot show it to you because I don't know if you see me on camera, have this widget because it's a nitro. It's a little piece of plastic inside that keeps the nitro gas in it. And again, because there's no widget cans available, I had to invent our own widget. So if you would see me, I would show you this heart shape, prototype, because we cannot get what we want to buy, what is already on market available, because there's a huge lack of the supply. We have to invent our own stuff, right? So the always ask yourself, if there's a big threat, how can I turn it into my advantage and opportunity? Cash management, I explained to you EBITDA versus cash. Again, companies will be very lean, right? Everything was about cost savings, how to make sure we can survive. And once the companies will emerge, most likely they will be way healthier. That means, the way how we work from home will give people different, way how they can balance the private life and the work life. But it also will change the way how offices look like, right? So are we ready for the new ways of office and buildings, how buildings will be built with air management and air, how your air is moving around offices, who breathes what, and all these things. So there's a lot of things that can change, but the cash is something that you have to really pay attention. And then consumer behavior, I call it the invasion of tech into your lives, right? But it's also, you can call it digitalization, how education is changing. As you can see, you guys are at school, and now you're listening to somebody in Portland online, and how remote workforce. Some of the designs that I have of the cans are happening in Czech Republic, and some of them are happening in Portland. And to me, it's the same thing. I'm still sitting in my office and talking to the teams in any continent, right? So the remote workforce I have now, I can tap into anything, and it's very normal for us. While before, you would be like, I need to hire a designer, and we need to meet in person, and I want to describe it to him. So that all changed. Okay, I have probably 15 minutes, if I understand that. Conclusion. Or the beginning. So let's talk about what we can do. So if you guys are interested in entrepreneurship, design your own business. Make sure you have a point of view, you have idea. Make sure you have understanding, your customer, context and business, even this global pandemic, and then prototype. Really, that's your first focus, and I like that is, everything that I'm doing on this startup is driven by, once I get this prototype in front of consumers, I will see if I want to even scale it, or I will call this a failure of startup, right? But the prototype is a key. Validate, then that's what I'm doing this Saturday, that we have set up a consumer testing, and we will validate that people will really like this. And then only then we will take it and start selling in every store and on Amazon. So this is how you design your business if you're interested. Every change is not always an improvement, but every improvement is always a change. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to try new stuff. And if you do always what you always did, you will get what you always got, right? So if you are in your ways and you are thinking about starting business, something has to change. And if something needs to change, most likely you have to step outside your comfort zone. And that's very important. It will be very uncomfortable. But look for it. This is our proverb, all sunshine makes a desert. If it's too much sunny days, the planet will die actually, and it will be all desert, right? So there will be some failures. There will be some, hopefully not as big as pandemic, but with your challenge will come actually failures. And I face it in the startup. There's this phase, you start your own business, there's this excitement for 3 months. It's so exciting. And then that period is over, and then you start hitting the obstacles, and one after another. And I think it's about three years of obstacles till you get out of it, and there's going to be success again. But you have to be ready for it. It's not going to be all sunshine. It's impossible to start a business. That's what I hear. a lot of time. It's impossible, right? I can't even imagine how to start a business. How to eat an elephant? That's, this proverb, one bite at a time. Don't think about the end game. I will sell this beverage company to Pepsi Cola for, in 10 years. I will make a consumer testing this Saturday. That's a one bite I can handle. Because I cannot eat the whole cow if I want a hamburger. And if some of you are vegans, then bake pumpkin, for example. And then focus on low-hanging fruit. Easy, quick win first. So last thing that I learned is that good things take time. That was the biggest change. Before COVID, the timelines were almost a Bible. You cannot change the timelines. Everything needs to go in these timelines that are given. In COVID, what I learned is more patience, and then the timelines are really flexible. So it feels like the time is running real fast, but when you look at your calendar and your business plan, everything's late. We were supposed to launch in June, and I'm doing consumer testing in October. So maybe we will launch 2021. So it'll take 12 months because I don't have aluminum cans. So the mindset is now that the good things take time. Questions? Any questions? Let me see. Hold on. Bear with me. I think we ran out of time almost, no?
Yeah.
Do we have any questions? Any questions?
Okay, if not.
Yeah.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
So if there are not any other questions, so thank you very much for your presentation, and hopefully we see each other in present way. So just not just via internet.
Yeah.
We have a chance to visit Ostrava once more time. So we are looking for because this time is very crazy for all of us.
Yes. And just for the students, if they have any questions later, tell them they can send it to you and email. Yeah. Because it's very impersonal right now, and we cannot see the reaction. But I bet some students want to ask something. Hopefully, if they don't, that's fine too.
Okay. So once more, thank you very much for your presentation, and see you next time. Bye.
All right. Thanks. Bye.